Have you ever stopped to wonder, what if the moon didn't exist? Would life on Earth be the same? The moon, our celestial companion, is more than just a beautiful adornment in the night sky. Its significance to our planet goes far beyond its role as a nocturnal lantern. The moon, with its gravitational pull, creates a delicate balance that affects not only our planet's tides, but also our weather, our sleep patterns, and even the behavior of the creatures we share this world with. It's a cosmic puppeteer of sorts, guiding and shaping life on Earth in ways that may surprise you. Its influence is subtle, often unnoticed, yet it's deeply woven into the very fabric of our existence. From the deepest oceans to the highest peaks, the moon's effects permeate every corner of our world. In the next few minutes, we'll delve into 10 peculiar ways the moon impacts life on Earth. Starting with the most obvious one, tides. But do you know how exactly the moon influences this? It's all about gravity, specifically the moon's gravitational pull on our planet. You see, the moon doesn't pull Earth's mass evenly. Instead, it tugs more on the side closest to it, causing our oceans to bulge outwards. This bulge is what we know as a high tide. On the opposite side of the Earth, we have another high tide, caused by the Earth itself being pulled toward the moon more than the water. The areas in between experience low tides. This ebb and flow of the ocean not only shape our coastlines, but also impact marine life in fascinating ways. Many species rely on tides for feeding and breeding. They've adapted their behaviors to the lunar schedule, making the moon an essential part of their life cycle. So without the moon, our oceans would be much calmer but less diverse. Ever had trouble sleeping during a full moon? You're not alone. It's not just a myth spun by folklore. Scientific research has shown that our sleep patterns and quality can indeed be influenced by the phases of the moon. Intriguing, isn't it? Studies reveal that during a full moon, people may experience less deep sleep and take longer to fall asleep. There's even evidence that we may sleep for shorter periods overall. The reason for this phenomenon is still a subject of debate among scientists. Some suggest it's a leftover trait from our ancestors, who might have been more alert during full moons for protection against predators. Now, before you start blaming the moon for your sleepless nights, it's worth noting that the correlation is subtle. It's not going to turn you into an insomniac, but it might just make your sleep a touch lighter. While we're not turning into werewolves, the moon does seem to affect our sleep. Not just humans, the moon also seems to have a hold on animals. From the ocean's depths to the sky's heights, the moon's pull shapes the lives of many creatures. The lunar cycle's rhythm influences a host of animal activities. Take, for instance, the remarkable marine worms known as pololo. In the South Pacific, they synchronize their reproductive behaviors to the final quarter of the lunar cycle. These worms rise to the sea surface in a beautiful synchronized spectacle, releasing their eggs and sperm. The moon's influence extends to the skies as well. The indigo bunting, a small migratory bird, uses the moon and stars for navigation during its nocturnal migration. Their flight direction adjusts with the changing phase and position of the moon. And then there's the humble dung beetle, which uses the moon's light to navigate and find food. On moonlit nights, these beetles can roll their dung balls in straighter lines. The moon, it seems, is a conductor of nature's grand orchestra. Have you ever noticed how the moon looks bigger when it's near the horizon? This phenomenon is known as the moon illusion, a fascinating quirk of human perception that has left scientists and philosophers intrigued for centuries. Despite its name, the moon illusion has nothing to do with the moon changing its size. It remains the same, regardless of its position in the sky. Instead, it's our brains playing a little trick on us. When the moon is near the horizon, our mind perceives it as being farther away than when it's high in the sky. And strangely enough, our brains interpret things that are farther away as being larger. Hence, the moon appears bigger. Various theories have been proposed to explain this illusion, from the effect of the Earth's atmosphere to the way our brains process visual information. But the exact cause remains a subject of ongoing debate among experts. So, the moon plays tricks on our minds too. Did you know the moon might have a say in the menstrual cycles? Fascinating, isn't it? There's a long-standing theory that menstrual cycles in humans, and even in other animals, can sync up with lunar cycles. The lunar cycle, with its roughly 28-day duration, is impressively close to the average length of a menstrual cycle. This has led many to speculate that these two natural phenomena might be more intertwined than we think. Early human societies, deeply connected to the natural world, likely recognize this correlation. Even today, some women report their cycles waxing and waning with the moon's phases. But is this just coincidence, or could there be a biological link? Well, the jury is still out on this one. Modern science is yet to provide conclusive evidence. However, the intriguing correlation remains a topic of ongoing research. So, the next time you gaze up at the moon, remember, the moon's influence might be more personal than we thought. The moon isn't as serene as it appears. It experiences quakes just like Earth. Yes, you heard it right. These moonquakes, as they are called, are akin to earthquakes but happen on the moon's surface. Now, you might wonder, how do these moonquakes occur? Well, they are primarily caused by the gravitational interaction between the Earth and the moon. This gravitational tug-of-war results in a significant amount of stress on the moon's crust, leading to these quakes. And how do we know about these moonquakes? Thanks to the seismometers that were installed during the Apollo missions. These fascinating devices have been recording moonquakes for more than 4 decades now, providing invaluable data about the moon's interior structure. Interestingly, there are 4 different types of moonquakes: deep moonquakes, shallow moonquakes, thermal quakes, and meteorite impact quakes. Each type is unique, varying in depth, frequency, and cause. So the moon has its own share of seismic activities. The moon's influence extends to our weather too. It's a subtle effect, yes, but it's there, and it's intriguing to consider. The moon's gravitational pull doesn't just play with our ocean tides. It also has a role in the rhythm of Earth's atmosphere, especially near the equator. Consider this. As the moon orbits our planet, it causes bulges in Earth's atmosphere. These atmospheric tides, much like oceanic ones, can impact the weather. For instance, they can alter wind patterns and temperatures. In the equator, where the effect is strongest, these changes can even influence rainfall patterns. Moreover, the moon's phases might be connected with shifts in weather too. Some studies suggest that during full and new moon phases, the chances of rainfall slightly increase. However, the moon isn't dishing out hurricanes or heat waves. Its influence is subtle, a gentle nudge rather than a forceful push. So, the moon could be a weather influencer in its own right. The term lunatic comes from luna, meaning moon. Is there a connection? This question leads us to a captivating theory that has been stirring up debate for centuries: the potential influence of lunar cycles on human mental health. From folklore to modern times, stories abound suggesting that people's emotions and mental states sway with the moon's phases. Yet the scientific community remains largely skeptical. The majority of studies conducted to investigate this matter have failed to find a statistically significant correlation between the moon and mental health. Critics argue that any perceived connection might be a result of confirmation bias, where people are more likely to notice and remember events that confirm their pre-existing beliefs. However, despite the lack of conclusive scientific evidence, the theory continues to enthrall and captivate us. Perhaps it's the allure of the unknown, the mystery that keeps us pondering. While the moon's effect on mental health is debated, it's an intriguing thought. And lastly, did you know the moon is gradually slowing Earth's rotation? It's a fascinating phenomenon, really. The moon's gravity pulls on our planet, causing the oceans to bulge out towards it. This creates a sort of tug-of-war between Earth's rotation and the moon's gravitational pull. Over billions of years, this tugging has had a subtle but significant effect. Earth's rotation is slowing down, ever so slightly, due to this gravitational interaction. This deceleration results in our days becoming just a smidge longer. To put it into perspective, about 100 years ago, our day was approximately 1.5 milliseconds shorter than it is today. Project this trend billions of years into the future, and days on Earth could be much longer than the 24 hours we're used to. So it seems, even time is not immune to the moon's influence. The moon, in its own way, is influencing time. So these are just some of the fascinating ways the moon impacts life on Earth. We've journeyed through the realm of lunar influences, exploring how the moon's gravitational pull causes tidal effects and even impacts our sleep patterns. We've seen how animals respond to the lunar cycle and delved into the intriguing phenomenon known as the moon illusion. We've also touched upon the moon's potential influence on menstruation and the occurrence of moonquakes that remind us of the moon's dynamic nature. The weather, as we've discovered, isn't immune to the moon's sway, and neither, it seems, is our mental health. And let's not forget the intriguing possibility of the moon's effect on our perception of time. Next time you gaze up at the moon, remember it's more than just a beautiful sight. It's a silent influencer shaping life on Earth in its own subtle ways.